Good morning, everybody. It's Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead. We're out here in front of our house in one of our old gardens we used to have here. And what we've done is when we put the high tunnels in, we had to move our blackberries. We had the Alapahaw blackberries and the Arkansas Travelers. Well, we put half of the Alapahaws down here, and then we got the Arkansas Travelers here. Well, guys, we haven't had a winter here yet. It has not got cold yet. And what we're beginning to see is all of these are beginning to start sprouting again. They're starting to put new growth on. Usually what happens is these canes die back. Well, this year, they haven't died back like they should. And they've just kept growing. So now we've got these big old long canes hanging out here, and I don't want that. I'd rather have a short, upright, erect type plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find where you've got a bud. Some of these buds face up, some of them face out, some of them face down. I'm going to find one that's facing up, and I'm going to cut just on the other side of it. That way it kind of shortens this plant up a little bit and doesn't allow it to get all out of hand. And I'm going to do the same thing on some of these others here, because I don't want my plant just getting all out of control here. I'm going to try to choose a way to make this a more upright plant, because spring will be coming on here before long, and with this new growth starting, I don't want it to see. Now this is last year's, this is old stock from last year's. It needs to come out of here. All that needs to just go. Now I've got a small erect cane right here that's going to be very easy for this to actually grow up good. Now this one here is another one example. This thing here, see, this is an Arkansas Traveler. See all this here? All this new growth coming on here. I don't need that. I need this plant to be short and upright. So I'm going to start taking a lot of this off, because this is all new buds fixing to pop out here. This one here, see how long them old canes are? That cane's sticking off over there a long way, and we don't need that. So we're going to cut it back. Now we've got a smaller cane system here, and then this will actually just branch out, and we'll have a lot more berries than we normally would have had if we'd have just left the long, thin canes. Now this is one of the old ones from last year. We'll cut it off, get rid of it. Another old dead one down in here. I'm gonna get rid of it. Now, I'm probably just gonna leave this one here because it's not getting out of hand yet. But I've got one over here that's laying off into the other one here. I'm probably going to cut it because there's a bud right there facing up. I'm just gonna cut it. We're gonna get rid of that one. We've got the some old growth in this one here that finally died. Now this doesn't look too bad, but I don't like the looks of that one laying way out there. So I'm just gonna cut it off. I got one laying way off over here. I'm gonna cut it back. And that gets me a little bit shorter there. We've got a dead top in this one here, so we're gonna cut it back. This one here, I got a bud facing up right there. We're gonna get rid of this. Throw that back out of the way. Get this dead stuff out of here. We've got some growth already started right here in an upright form, so we're gonna go just above it and cut that off. I know it looks like you're kind of doing some harsh stuff to them, but literally, you're actually doing the plant a favor by doing that. Some of these plants were planted a lot later than others, because as I cleaned up these greenhouses, I came and worked on these and planted them. Some of them are not as big as others. This one here got a lot of old dead. You can see the old original canes. This is where I dug it up last year and stuck it out here. I'm gonna get rid of this old dead stuff off of it. And let's see, I'll just leave that one because it's not too bad. I'm gonna get rid of that. this thing is in the way. This is way too much here, so we're gonna cut that back. I'm gonna leave one upright one there, new growth right here. And then we got this plant right here that just done started going wacko on me here, so we're gonna get the dead out first so that we can take a good look at what's left. And then it kind of helps us to determine what we're looking at there. Get some of this dead stuff out of the way. Well, we know we don't want this hanging way off out here, so we're going to cut that off. I'm going to just go ahead and start from the top coming down. I've got one facing up right here. We're going to cut just on the other side of that. Another one here. Let's see, got one right there. One right here. And we'll work our way down. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a bush out of this briar. Now, what we've got right there this spring will all bush out, and we'll have lots of canes on it rather than just a few long skinny ones there. Now we got a goldenrod that's done popped up right here. We got to get rid of that. And that's what all you see right in here is them goldenrods. Their roots run under the ground here, like spider webs under the ground. There'll be a long white root system like that, and they'll take a place over if you don't stay with them. See them long white roots? And it'll all come from one plant. It'll just keep sending out little roots out there. We're gonna get all that up out of here because we sure don't need that. We're gonna get rid of that cane. There's another big old one right here. We're gonna see if we can't. These little hand lippers is kind of tough on that big old woody cane. All right. This one, get all this dead stuff out of here so we can see what we've got. All right, we don't really have much down in here we need to fool with. So we're gonna come up here, clip this off. This one's got kind of tall. I would rather it be a little shorter here. And we'll get rid of these little oak limbs here. Probably snip that one off. Snip this one off. And we've already got some of our canes are already dying, falling off of that one. Got a few dead ones around in here. And what we're trying to let happen here, briars do real good. If you've ever noticed out in the woods, they do real good where there's lots of leaves piled up around them. It creates a real good mulch underneath them. So that's why we're not raking up any leaves out from around them or anything. These old chamber bitters have come up in here everywhere, and that's what's left over off of them. Now this here does not look like the Arkansas Traveler. This looks like the Alapaha. We probably put a few on this end down here, just simply because of its way it's caning. It's coming up real thick at the ground. We'll come back later and pick all this dead stuff up and take it off over into the woods, and we'll get rid of that.
I see a potato.
Huh?
Look.
You see a what? Oh, there is a potato. Yes. We hadn't had potatoes here in, gosh.
A year.
Over a year. Yeah, it's been over a year since we had potatoes here.
We need to dig a potato.
And that's one, probably just one we threw out to the side, more than likely. This is what we have problems with here is oak trees. They come up here by the hundreds. We're constantly pulling up oak trees. All right, so I've got a few more on the other end to do, and we'll have the blackberries finished up. This here, guys, a lot of y'all ask about Mustards. Do we plant any mustards? This is a whole field here of broadleaf mustard planted. Now it is getting some yellow tops on it because we've had some, look, it stays in the 80s here, heat index, almost all the time. Just doesn't get cool. And I'm starting to see some little bug signs on the top of it. But this is for eating if we want to eat it. We've actually given away tons of stuff out of this. And what we're doing is this is a cover crop to help control the root knot nematodes in the soil, because this gives off a chemical that in the spring we will actually come in here with a tiller and we'll actually till the green stuff and everything under, and we'll let it set for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll come back and we'll plant on top of it, and it'll put a chemical in the soil that helps to control it. Now we still have a few of our Star of David okras standing up here that hadn't completely dried yet. Not many left, but as they dry, we cut them off and we pull the stalk up and throw it over the fence. This here is our elephant garlic. We have a whole row of it here. This stuff has been here, I guess, I don't know, what, 5 years or more?
It was here.
Was it here when you came here?
No, you and I put logs down here and put it.
We did. Me and you put the logs. As a matter of fact, there's still some of the old rotten logs there.
We had them all up and down here, but they're gone.
Yeah,
this is the last of them.
That's the last of them right there. They've rotted and gone because we created a small garden area here. And we planted the elephant garlic here when we did. And every year we dig garlic out of this, but the corms stay in the soil and they come back out. Now what you're looking at here, this is young garlic. This right here, this is all young from the corms. Now this one here is probably a bulb that we missed last year, because you can tell the difference in the size of it. There's probably a bulb right here that we missed. That one's just a lot larger. The corms have a tendency to come up in a thick group like this right here. Now you can actually dig these up and transplant them individually, but we just leave them because it's just a garlic bed for us. We'll come back this year, and we probably won't harvest anything out of here this year because this is mostly corms down through here. With the elephant garlic, the first year, your corm just forms a round bulb. If you leave it in the soil, next year, it will make cloves. It's a 2-year thing, and then after that, it just continually makes cloves. But every year, the corms will form on it and continue to make new little garlic plants, and that's why we have so many. Now, we have garlic growing in other places that we will probably harvest for our own eating. We freeze dry it, make our own powders. We just try to keep it as much as we can because it's a good allium to have for health purposes. I mean, we use it in a lot of things. We mix it in with our butter to make garlic butter with, to kind of help keep us as healthy on the inside as we can. Because guys, we're not young. I mean, we're older people, and we have to try to do everything we can to maintain our health and keep sicknesses and things like that away. So elephant garlic's a big deal for us here in the South. We've tried the other garlics. They just don't do good in the heat of the South here. But the elephant garlic, it just loves it. Here, all up through here, we have our lemongrass. Now, we did have it all the way down the whole road here, but this past year we had a bad cold weather, and it almost killed and lost all of it. Ms. Wanda came in and salvaged some of what was on the other end down here and replanted it up through here, and it's come back and it's doing pretty good now. Because it's been so mild, you know, we haven't had to do anything with it yet, but we have some cold weather we believe coming. So we may have to come out here and clip all this stuff down close to the ground so we don't lose it again this year, because our lemongrass is one of our staples here. We use in lots of different things. And then we have all this fencing, trellising system, I guess I should call it, back here. All this has got to come down. We got to take up all these row covers in here our ground cover, not row cover, but ground cover, and take all these posts up, take the panels up. We got to come in here, we got to turn this soil because it's done gotten compacted up underneath it here. In the deep south, if you don't do something with the soil down here, it becomes compacted. And we've got to try to get that fixed. We got to amend the soil because it's hard to amend it when you have this ground cover down. You've got to take it up. You got to be able to get those amendments in the soil because you can't just leave soil there. That's what's wrong with the world today. People just continually farm and farm and farm and farm, and they're not putting anything back into the soil. And what they do is they just deplete it eventually. That's why all of our fruits and vegetables and things that nowadays we buy don't have any nutritional value to them, is because everything gets depleted. We've got to build this soil back. It'll be just like when I turn all this green stuff under here. Not only will that put the chemical back in the soil to control the root nematodes, but it puts green matter back into the soil along with all these oak leaves you see. All these oak leaves here, we are falling all out in here around these greens and everything, and we'll turn all them oak leaves under, all that stuff, and put a lot of organic matter back into the soil. Along with, we'll probably lime it real heavy and check the pH on it and do things like that. We'll check the soils and doing soil analysis to make sure that we have it where we need it. A lot of the reason why we're doing what we're doing in this particular garden here, this is the garden that we dumped 13, I believe it was 10 to 13 bucketfuls of goat manure in here from our goats that we had. It was contaminated with grazon, and it's been, what, probably 4 years now since then, and we finally have put enough stuff in here and worked with it enough, growing different monocots and doing things in here, trying to take out stuff, add stuff. So we've got it to the point now where the grazon does not seem to be affecting it as bad as it was. So that was a hard lesson for us to learn, trying to use our own animal manure and not realizing that the hay we had been tainted with grazon. So it's something you might want to check out if you're using your own animal manure, is to make sure the hay you're feeding them has not been contaminated with either grazon, Remedy, 2,4-D, or one of the other herbicides, because it just passes through the animal, goes right into the soil, and any broadleaf plant that's not a monocot will not grow on it. Well guys, as y'all know, here at Deep South Homestead, we're all about permaculture, and that's one of the reasons why we can get as much done on our homestead as we get done and not have to bust our tails relentlessly to make it happen, is simply because of permaculture. If you put the right thing in the right place, it takes care of itself mostly. Now in the wintertime, you've got to do some pruning like I just did on these briars here. But guys, this was the Razz Ma Tazz that I planted here. In the deep south, this plant should have took off, and I mean it should have just flourished. But like everything else in permaculture, it's location, location, location. This thing has not done hardly anything. It hasn't even grown 3 feet. Now it was growing a little bit, but one of the hurricanes came in and blew a limb out of a tree, and it landed right on top of it here, and it broke some of the little feeders off of it. So I told Wanda, I said, you know what? This is not where it belongs. So we're going to dig this thing up today, because it's winter time, it's dormant, and we're going to move it and see if we can't find a more suitable location for it where it will do better. I thought because this was an old garden spot, it was real rich here and everything, that this thing would do just great, but it's not where it needs to be, so we've got to relocate it. I know a lot of y'all are wondering, what in the world is a Razz Ma Tazz? Well, a Razz Ma Tazz is a patented muscadine that grows tags of berries on it, just like a seedless grape. This thing is seedless. You can eat the skins and everything. It's just like eating a seedless grape. Now, it doesn't get as large in diameter as grapes do, and it doesn't get as large in diameter as regular muscadines do, but they hang in tags, and they're supposedly really, really sweet. The guy patented this thing, and I wanted one of them. I mean, they're kind of pricey, but I wanted one of them just because I love muscadines, and I would love to have one that I didn't have to worry about all the seeds being in it, and they hung in tags like grapes. All right, we got some good topsoil down in the bottom of that hole. Ms. Wanda's gonna put that.
Want it that deep, right?
Yeah, it's about right. No, that's the right depth. I got it set.
You think?
Yeah, just pick up on, when you put the dirt around it, then you'll just pick up on the plant and it'll let the roots kind of go straight down. Try to put as much of that black dirt in there as you can, get away from that sand.
Like that?
Yeah. Now pull up on your plant just a little. There you go now. We got a lot of rain moving in here, guys, so, or we're supposed to be. Let me put it that way.
We got 3/4 of an inch.
We got 3/4 of an inch last night, which was more than we've had in 6 weeks almost, so. Just want to get this put here and the rains will come and settle the dirt down. Level it all out. Make a little berm around it there. We're going to try this new location out and see if this will make it.
Sugar cane didn't do as well here.
Yeah, so we're going to see if this will work out all right.
You got plenty of room for a.
Plenty of room for an arbor. Just something a little temporary. That's good right there. Just something so we
know
won't.
where it's at. So I know where it's at.
Well, Miss Wanda knows where it's at. Yeah, because she'll be ran over it. But guys, this is crazy. Look at it. The sugar cane's coming back up. We're going to have temperatures supposedly in the 20s in about 4 days. So we got to come through here. All this has got to be cut off in about 3 days, because if not, it'll just sprout and come right back. I mean, this is crazy. We harvested sugar cane. It's done coming back because it hasn't been cold. Well, guys, it's time for us to take a break. And I've got this salad stuff that Ms. Wanda's been making for me. We've been harvesting our carrots. We've decided to, you've heard in one of our other videos, we've decided to eat fresh now and try to eat as fresh as we can, as long as we can. And then when the carrots get to a point where we can no longer allow them to be in the ground, then we're going to freeze dry what's left. And that way they'll remain as fresh as possible. But I have pears in here that we harvested off our place this year, and raisins that we had to purchase them. We did not actually raise them. I wish we could. But guys, everything is possible. I mean, we try to raise as much as we can here, as fresh as we can, instead of having to buy stuff from the store. Some things like those raisins, you know, I just don't have the ability to grow grapes here enough to do that with. So right now, we're going to sit down here and we're going to enjoy some good homemade salad stuff for break. You can't beat fresh homemade stuff. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.